Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. Thank you so much for joining us for another hour of a very important conversation that is deeply meaningful to each of us and the society we're a part of. So let's get started. Today, we are going to be talking about why homemakers should be homeowners. Think about that for a moment. Somebody who is making a home, raising a family, building block of the foundation of society, shouldn't that woman own the home she's making? And why are we talking about it in Goldilocks? Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks is about getting things just right, finding our center as individuals and as society, and coming from that grounded center to truly build a better community, a better family, a better society. When we come from that place, we realize not a single person who has ever occupied the face of this earth ever came into the world without occupying 9.5 months their mother's womb. The first home of every living person who has ever lived occupied a home made by their mother and mother alone. And then when they come into this world, that same mother nurtures them, raises them, and brings them into the world, right? Not just as a newborn, but as an adult. And then whether you're a male or a female, you go on, get married, and generally the homemaker role falls on women. Although now trend is changing that more and more men are becoming homemakers while the women are the breadwinners, right? So whichever the role is, let's talk about why it's important for homemakers to own the home, so that there is that safety, there is that comfort. And with that safety and security, then you can give it to the family you're raising. Remember rule number one, we can never give what we don't have. So if the homemaker doesn't feel safe, the homemaker doesn't feel like she belongs, if the homemaker doesn't feel like she's cared for and respected and she's safe, she can't give those to the children she's raising. And when children are raised without those human characteristics, then we have social issues down the road. So instead of blaming children and adults down the road, what if we address the root cause? What if we get it just right so that every mother is able to raise a child that is groomed just right for our society? And I'm so excited to have this conversation with my dear, dear friend, my client, somebody I consider family, somebody who's a US veteran. So this is not any woman. This is a woman who's gone and served our country, been in the military. And then she comes back and starts a real estate business, and she's a realtor. She's helping others find their homes, build their families. So she's gone from serving the country to serving the community. And keeping that in mind, I am truly honored and excited to invite Shirley Ann to the program. Shirley Ann, welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks.
Oh, thank you so much. What an introduction. I liked when you said going from serving my country to my community. I like that, and which is very true. Thank you for having me.
My honor. So what made you get into real estate? Because your life was not that perfect story where you had everything given to you and then ta-da, you had a home, you had a life, you had everything handed to you. You truly had to work towards it. You had to build it. And then you took from your lesson and you're helping people have a better life. So tell me what brought you into this world of real estate and what propels you to stay in it?
Well, so if I had to go one word or maybe two words, and those two words would be change mindset. So I had to have a true mindset change. As you stated, I served our country, and which meant I served families. As a senior leader, I had to serve families. I had to go into their homes and understand the dynamics of the home. So when I retired out of the Army, like, it was not an option to go work for someone else, to be driven by someone else, but real estate presented itself to me. And honestly, Dr. Cass, I wished I would have tapped into real estate a lot earlier after I exited the military, but everything happens with perfect timing. So what gives me the passion, what fulfills me literally with real estate is not the commissions, it's not the monies that follow, but it is the fact that I have homeowners who, well, they were not homeowners, but they became homeowners. So they are homeowners who never ever dreamed that they could own a home. And building a team such as lenders, such as inspectors, people that would help people fix their credit and position them. That's my passion now. I love it. I love giving back to the community. Again, I didn't want to go and get a typical job with the degrees or whatever. I have passion for people. And so now I am allowing and helping people realize that they can place themselves into a place of security. So that's what drives me, that security, that child has a bed to lay in, a place that they can call home. And one of my mottos, and I'll pause after this, is if you can afford to rent, you can afford to own. We may have to do some things to position you to own, but you cannot leave an apartment. You cannot leave someone else's home as legacy to your family. So thereby, real estate is, it's a grand opportunity because you're changing lives and you're changing mindset.
I love how you tied home ownership to security, Shelly Ann, because you come from the military providing safety and security and protecting the nation. Now you are bringing it to homeowners one household at a time. And a woman who doesn't feel secure, a mother who doesn't feel secure, can't raise a family that feels secure, right? So that is partly the problem we're facing in our society today. Too many times in too many societies, I'm not just talking United States, this is a global conversation in a global arena. Too many times the woman who subjugates her career, her dreams, her aspirations to, be with a man, have his children, help his career, raise the family, runs his household. She doesn't always win out. There are times she's out on the street without a home, without anything, because the home was never hers and she never asked for it. And women around the world, generally, not everywhere, but generally, mostly, don't think of financial security and home ownership as a foundation for their own security and their children's security. Talk to me about that and how can we change that?
So again, it goes back to mindset. But even with mindset, I think for women, the way you described the men having it and making it happen, and God forbid divorce or something happens, the woman is left out. I think the most critical thing for any female globally is to understand herself and to have a high self-esteem, to understand that she likewise, and I'm about families, don't get me wrong, so I don't want to not talk that language about male, female, because I've helped both single parents, men and women obtain home ownership. But I think we have to help her understand the fact that she is qualified and has the potential to own a home, thereby providing security. And, and we talk about Maslow's, his hierarchy. Self-esteem is so crucial. I have had individuals that have lived in hotels because they didn't think they could do anything better. Now they made the money, they did not have the credit. So if I can help shape her mindset and not being judgmental based on where she lives currently, but giving her the hopes and the dream to purchase. I have not dealt internationally with real estate, and it's definitely one of my desires. But in order to do that, I understand I have to understand the culture. Hence, you're going to help me with that, Dr. Cass. But
Yes.
when I look at it across the United States, I have a client right now. I had a client, she could afford $90,000 of a home, which of course a lot of people would say that's not a lot. And it's not, considering society and interest rates and what have you. And this young woman had three sons, and she needed to move like ASAP. We got her qualified. Um, the beautiful part was the end story, but the middle part really pained me because I can't steer and direct clients where to live. And she was going to live in a place that when the inspector showed up, he said, "Shirley Ann, this house is not ready for anyone to live in." And they were selling that house as is. And it kind of shot her self-esteem to some degree. But she was like, "I don't care. I got to place my children somewhere." Well, the inspector, who's a part of my team, had just remodeled a home. And this young woman wound up going into this home for 90,000 that later on appraised at over $100,000. The inspector didn't like it after the fact, but there was nothing he can do. The whole point of that was I had to help her keep her self-esteem. I had to help her keep her mind in the game. I had to help her understand you can't give up now. We've come too far. And it took that client a year to come back to me. So I believe that if we could also help them shut down negativity, those
Mm-hmm.
things that are going on in their mind saying you can't do this, or your parents never owned, or they've never been exposed. So there's a lot of women, individuals who have never been exposed to home ownership. All they've known is what we call in the US, and it may be in other areas the same term, projects or homes that are funded to them by the government, which limits how much they can make, what they can do, and what have you for their children. So if we can help them and then support them in their dreams and their vision. This particular woman was an entrepreneur. So, her income was definitely different, but supporting one another in their businesses. And again, my part as the realtor was to properly educate her from the real estate and then to connect her with the mortgage lender and the others who had the education in those areas so that we could help. I don't like the term steer, but guide and direct her in that. And then to be open. And then they had to be honest. So that woman has to be open minded to say, yes, I can achieve it. I'm honest with myself. This is where I am. But I also need a team. I need people who have done it. I've never sold globally, so I'll refer back to that. You have interacted and are interacting globally. So instead of feeling like, oh, I'm embarrassed, I can't share this, I don't want nobody to know what's happening with me, I got to be open and honest with myself and come to you, Dr. Cass, who's willing, not judgmentally, but willing to tell me the truth and to help me get on course. And then I can't have the big head or be embarrassed. I've got to follow what you say in order to achieve what it is that I desire.
So two things resonate to me, Shelly Ann, as you're talking. One is home buying, the way you approach it is not transactional. It is
Yeah.
not transactional at all. You stay with them throughout the journey, and it's not a revolving door. If it takes them a whole year to get in the right frame of mind, to build all the right pieces and come back to the table, you are patiently grooming them, guiding them, and waiting for them. Now, that is not always the case. So one of the lessons there is make sure you find the right realtor for you, because otherwise the realtor can put you in a home that you're not going to be happy, that is not right for you, but they'll take the commission and they've moved on, right? So that is one area. And the other is actually understanding that it is a mindset. And homemakers, as I said when we started, are not always women. Sometimes they're men, because we're living in an era where the woman is the breadwinner and the husband is raising kids. I've worked with women who have stay-at-home husbands. So the same rule applies. If the homemaker is the male, how do we make sure that they feel supported, they feel secure, right?
Yeah.
because the tables can turn in a heartbeat. And women generationally are conditioned to deal with these situations, men are not.
Yeah.
So how do we help them so that the family, you're all about family, I'm all about family, how does it keep the unit together? Because ultimately, we buy a house, but we have to make it a home. So talk to us about that. You come from the military, so many military men and women are homeless. So this touches very close to heart for you.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on one thing you mentioned that was transactional. So when you do find the realtor, and I'm so grateful to God for that military career, for that retirement. So it's not transactional based for me. Commissions just happen to follow. Unfortunately, real estate for some realtors, that's their bread and butter. And the client or customer initially needs to ensure that that realtor can fill their heart and understand that they are priority and not their commission, because we've got that happening out there. But there is a vast difference in a house versus a home, because there are a lot of people who do own houses, big beautiful houses or small houses, but that home um, is critical, and it takes the homemaker, hence as it states, to make the home. It's the environment that we go in. So when we go into, let's stay with real estate, the initial home buying of it, the environment is already being set up as to how you're going to carry out the home. If it's a husband and wife team or a male female team, or however it is, same couple team that's making purchases, it's the mindset again. It goes back to that. Once you sign that mortgage paper, you've got that house, but it's significantly important to create it as a home. And that's why you do have women and men who may leave the house that should have been a home for them. Thereby, if they do that, they've got to be able to create a home. What? Environment. Providing the things that is needed within the home, such as, you can't go to the store and buy it, even though you need those things, but things such as love, things such as warmth, things such as this is mine. When I grew up in a home, there was china, there was sofa with plastic on it. There were certain things that we couldn't touch. In fact, I left the house that should have been a home because there was more value in the house than the home. People make homes and not things. I'll finish it with that.
Beautifully said, Shelley Ann. And the goal is for homemakers to feel secure so that they can truly make a house into a home. And two things come to my mind when we think of families: how secure the homemaker feels and how the home is run actually influences the children you raise.
Yes.
So if the homemaker is a male and the breadwinner is a female, or sometimes it could be two males, it could be two females, we're not characterizing it in any way. When children see, when girls see their female role models, and when the boys see their male role models without a specific gender identity, they actually start emulating that, right? How do we help children feel secure, children feel respected, and turn around and treat their partner in life? All based on what they experience from childhood. It all comes from the home,
Yeah.
right? And that same behavior shows up at work, that same behavior shows up in the workplace. And ultimately, people who are too defensive, people who always jump on everybody else, they were never raised securely.
Yeah. And now you're tapping really kind of like in my counseling side of things. Actually, and that's what makes me unique as a realtor, because I actually do use some of my counseling skill sets with that. And I have had the opportunity to counsel family members who are in a home, and we talked about the dynamics as to why, if the home is not secure, it impacts not only the homemaker, but the person that is purchased, and even more damaging to the children. Because if, let's just, I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios. Let's say it's a mom-dad scenario. Dad purchased the home, mom's the homemaker, and the children are there. And dad's not loving. Dad's like, this is my house. You're going to do what I say do, how I say do, whatever, what have you. Well, the fear is instilled in the child for the most part as to if they don't have that lovingness, then they're subservient to someone else and they've got to accept whatever comes their way. Hence, mindset, self esteem low. Most often won't be homeowners and or will be like the home owner that they came from, very dominant. This is mine, I'm possessive, I don't want to share. So that's a house pretty much. So it's critical for homemakers or the homeowner, the person who signed off on the mortgage, to provide a safe environment. I am dealing with a client right now that's 29 years old, and she's from Jamaica, but she's purchasing in the US. Phenomenal client. This young lady came from an environment, obviously, where her parents were entrepreneurs, homeowners, and what have you. We are now looking at her fifth house for purchase in less than a month. So she understands investment. She understands legacy. She understands providing for other people. It's critical to come up in a solid base house. Dr. Cass, I grew up with my mom and my stepfather before my mom died. I was 11 when she passed. And this is real critical to tie in. But my mother owned, believe it or not, in the 60s, a home. That never went away from me. I purchased my first home. I was in my 30s when I purchased my first home in Alaska. But because my mother owned a home and then we moved after she got sick to a house that we started renting, it never left the back of my mind that I could not own a house because I watched the due diligence. I watched her work. I watched how she provided. I watched how she made sure that she brought balance to the home. That's real critical. So you can be a homeowner and impact your children negatively if you're not bringing balance because you're all over trying to keep a home and really your house broke inside. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that is such a powerful image you paint because children learn from what they experience. They don't learn from what they're told, right? So,
Yes.
how do we give them that immersion experience to truly feel? That's the other thing I always remind people. We're not thinking people who happen to feel, we are feeling creatures who happen to think, right? So the
Mhm.
feeling we create and the connections we make in children, that is their personality they take into the world as adults. And it's so important to give that stable, comfortable, secure family environment so that children can go out and be that.
Yeah. And that's conversation, actually. That's real dialogue. That's some people say don't set expectations, but I say with your children, we should set some forms of expectation, building some kind of foundation of security for them, not solely in the family, because family is critical and important, but within one's self. It is very, very important that the parent builds the child's self esteem that they can have. Now, in having, there comes work ethics, there comes taking care of the things that you have, because there's a lot of people that own homes and it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on in here? There is accountability for paying your bills. You can't expect to get a home and keep a home and you don't pay your bills or even communicate with whoever it is that you have the mortgage through. And even if you paid cash for the home, we still have to teach them. And if I take care of what I have, continue with different upgrades, then when I'm gone, I can pass something on to someone else of value, of significance, and not of a burden. So we have to communicate, connect, and teach.
Absolutely. And I love how you tied those together: communicate, connect, and teach. Just like we have to maintain ourselves, right? Stay healthy, practice a wellness mindset. do everything right so that we are taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of the ones we love and have a healthy, happy life.
Yeah, that's the first
Same
home.
way. Yes, same way the home has to be taken care of, the home has to be maintained, and home has to be upgraded so that it doesn't fall apart before we fall apart and check out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. I like how you said that because you relate it to the body. The body is the first home, children, that we can teach how to properly take care of, which goes back to mindset and self-esteem. Doesn't mean that they're perfect. I think it's important also to point out for people to understand it doesn't mean that things have to be perfect, but they do have to be orderly for what works with your life for purpose for you. Thereby, you're not comparing you with another, but you are comparing you with you as you enhance and build yourself to be better. And maintenance. So we maintain this temple here, our mind, our bodies. I think it translates over to how we maintain the things that we have and the people that we are around as to who we want to invite in our homes and what part of our homes do we want to let them be in.
perfectly said. And as we start thinking about that, the most important thing to remember is, as you said, mindset. So if you are going to give individuals 3 tips to Shellyanne, 3 things to take away as the foundation for building the right mindset to become a homeowner, to create that safe, secure environment where you can connect and relate and teach and grow, what would those 3 be?
Believe in self. Believe that you can do it, thereby eliminating I'm trying. Do it. You may not be where you want to be, but never give up on your faith and your belief in yourself that you can do it. The second thing in that belief, I would say surround yourself with others who believe in you and not challenge you from a negative, but challenge you from accountability to achieve what it is that you are believing in. And I think the third thing, Dr. Cass, that I would give them is to just do it. Because if you never do it and you stop, who's to say? I saw this sign and it made sense. And it said, you never fail. You're either winning or you're learning. So just do it.
Yes, and I love that you started with don't try, do. My favorite line from Star Wars is Yoda saying, do or do not, there is no try. So
Ah,
anytime people tell me they're trying, I say, have you watched Star Wars? Here is a quote from Yoda. Keep that, let it resonate, and then embrace it. Because trying means I'm not sure, and therefore the belief is not there.
yeah. And it's also, for me, what I've learned when I say trying, I'm giving myself permission to procrastinate.
Hmm.
And procrastination never gets you anywhere.
No.
It's a form of fear. So rid the fear. If someone else can do it and have done it, I believe so can the other person if we just seek out and ask the right person to help us, because we will get what it is that we desire to have. Someone said that look at your friends, look at your circle, and whatever your circle looks like, most times that's who you are or you are becoming.
Very true. And then what you need to do is if you want a different reality, then change your
Right.
circle because then your influence changes. With that wonderful words of wisdom and 3 tips, I am going to open this up to a conversation because I'm already having Wendy and I think Lily dropped off. Wendy share some thoughts. So let's open up and have a conversation with our audience here.
Yes.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Hi,
Hi.
Wendy.
So I love what you have to say. And I say that because I came from me and my husband got divorced when my son was just 3 years old. And so I had the rough decision of, do I try and keep my home, or do I just, what do I do? That's where I was at. What do I do? And so I just felt like I had this strong feeling that I needed to provide for my son, to keep a good home. And it's not necessarily that an apartment isn't a home, because I like everything that you've been saying, but I wanted stability. My son has special needs, so I wanted stability. I wanted to make sure that if he was going to escape, without me realizing right away that he was in a safe environment, that our neighbors knew us and would be able to help me out. But I found within myself a strength that I didn't know I had, because I fought for that. And as a result, I found myself advocating not just for the community I was living in, but for other single moms. At work, when they would say things like, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I'm like, there's no can't, you can do.
Andy.
So I would just really strongly, try to show them the power that women have, the strength that we have when we don't give up. If we fight and allow ourselves to believe in ourselves, then we are capable of doing so much.
Yeah, Wendy, I fully agree with you, because a home could be actually a car. There are a lot of people that we have that are what we would consider homeless, the four walls and what have you, right? And those that may live in their car or whatever, and I don't necessarily advocate it, but if that's where they are, that's where they are. But sometimes those individuals have more security and love going on in that car than a person that does in four walls and it's warm. So it's all about definitely the environment. I commend you for being an advocate for them, and not only an advocate, but an example. See, as women, there are times that we need to see each other and encourage one another to say, girl, you can do this, and this is how you can do this. And we are very powerful. We have been we have women so much put on us that the endurance is for us to go through and do. However, I also believe that we have the strength and we have the power within us that, I say, God loved us so much that we can birth life, which is strength. And meaning not only birth life physically, we also can birth life into other people, to include men, to include the home. If we would just go in ourselves, and the work becomes us with mindset, changing ourselves and moving forward with that. So I salute you. I fully agree with you. I love the backdrop that you have there. It's a matter of, we will do what we need to do as women, especially if we have children and others attached to us.
And it's such a good feeling, the power that when you allow yourself to just, give in and go with it and believe in yourself. And then when you accomplish it, that feeling of pride is just, it's so incredible.
Yeah.
I did it. There's nothing like, well, other than raising your children and they do well and stuff, but there's nothing like that feeling of, I did it.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dr. Cass, we talked about with women, and also Wendy, and nothing with Marquise, my son, and probably what other male that may look at this. But it just hits me also when we think about women and what we were told what we could not do, and the rights. In some countries, women can't even purchase homes, or whatever the case may be. They make the homes, but they can't necessarily flow kind of like how we do in America. But when we understand as women, globally uniting and connecting, I have a saying, I don't have control the earth suit that I entered this world in, but I do control the spirit that lives within me. So the spirit of love in you was shared with those other women that connected with the spirit that was in them. And if we could rid the earth suits and really connect from a spiritual perspective and make a movement, not in a, well, I'm telling you, man, this, that, or other. No, in the power of who we are, in the empowerment that has been given to us in our human rights. And we have to stand forth and go get what belongs to us. And that is ownership.
What an amazing conversation. The strength of a woman is a quiet strength. It's not the rock 'em, sock 'em, blow 'em up kind of, you know, a Die Hard movie type strength, right? It is truly that quiet, nurturing, life affirming strength. And don't ever mess with a mama bear. Don't ever mess with the mama bear, especially when the cubs are around. And that's real, because when it's about the ones we love, even if it's not the child and it's the spouse, we get strength. We women can carry our men to safety if their life is threatened. And from somewhere, somehow we get that strength, right? It's not just a child. So we are blessed with that ability to rise up to the occasion and stand up to what come may. And the important thing is we stand with each other to support one another, because in that we grow stronger and we become resilient as a community of womanhood. So to me, that is what I'm hearing, Wendy and Shirley-Ann, as you're talking. And I honestly think the two of you should connect, because there is so much power in where you are coming from and what resonates for you.
Nice. I would love that, Wendy.
I really want to take a moment and have Lillian contribute something, because she has been typing on the chat. So go ahead, Lillian. Okay, maybe you're muted and you didn't know. Okay, while she waits, Elisa, if you have something to contribute, go ahead, and Marquise, you too. Let's keep the conversation going. It'll be nice to have a male perspective too. So as we wait for them, let's think about where we are today in the world, what's going on around us. And homemakers, homeowners, everybody can fall prey to things outside of our control. So let's also think about how we can support each other through those unforeseen circumstances. Go ahead, Elisa.
Hi, no, I've enjoyed, this is a great talk for sure. Especially since I have two daughters. So I do think it's important, and I've jotted down notes about, you know, some good points with them, because my personal story is a little bit, I guess, more of a cautionary tale, because what I did that I should not have done, which was in 2008, I co-signed a mortgage for a coworker, and I was supposed to be removed from it within a month. And I felt like I was just out of college. I was 22, and she had been a mentor to me. So I trusted her, and I felt like she had spent extra time for me. And even though in the back of my mind, I knew this was probably a bad idea. And I did ask for everything to be put in writing, so that saying the plan was that I would be removed within a month, even though I should have known. I know that was a bad decision. But within that month, the mortgage was sold to another company. And that is still something that I have been battling with, because she ended up forging my identity. It was a few years ago, to sign for a refinance. So, but I had worked, my story is different, but I've worked for years to it's off of my credit, but it's still not completely gone. And she seems to somehow she won't pay it. So for a while it impacted my credit. And I am not on the home here because we were concerned that they would take that home as an asset. And that's always been something that kind of bothers me, because there is that lack of security. But all that to say that, so with my daughters, I like to find things to encourage them, that they can do it, and obviously not to make the same mistake that I did. But that was right. There were a lot of fraudulent loans at that time. I mean, I should have known better. That was right before everything collapsed. And but I guess my advice to people with that too is be careful who you are helping, and if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So, but
Wow.
thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Well, Alyssa, I mean, thank you for being vulnerable enough, which is educational, to share publicly so others could be aware of that. Is that still on your credit? Are you?
So it's on 2 of the 3. And I've like reported the identity theft, and I've done the police report, and I've pushed like through all of the organizations because I was able to, because I was just so persistent with it. And it speaks to like how you were, if you want to do something, you can do it. Because when I would call, and I won't say the bank's name, but they would transfer me around to all the departments, and because I wanted them to have official notification of the fraudulent loan. But I finally got somebody, and I guess that because I would just have to try, every couple months I would just keep calling them and calling. And he told me the truth. That's how I found the truth, that the loan as it was didn't exist anymore. That's technically, because she had committed this identity theft, that I had made the original mistake, but now I was no longer liable for it, because I don't even know how she managed to, she must have had like a fake ID and somebody to sign, because you had to have a notary. Right. But yeah, it's still something so it's off of 2 completely of the 3 credit reports. And the other one, it's like because I'll go in and I keep saying that it's fraud to the company. And so then they have it in a weird category, but my credit scores have come back up.
Okay, very good.
Did you file a Federal Trade Commission report? Yes. Okay.
And I may have some people that could possibly help you. I've had some folks that had some really bad scenarios going on. I had a young male that was single father that had not filed taxes like 3 years. I mean, just really a big mess. He is a homeowner because I had connected with someone on my team that was legit and legally help him get the things that he needed to get corrected on his credit in the right way so that he can move forward. And then the other thing I heard you say that you did the loan in your husband's name. So Alyssa, that's not necessarily negative, because I also tell clients that if you can afford to purchase, if they're married, they're a couple, if one of you can afford the loan, do it only in one person's name and put the other person's name on the deed. It's a suggestion. I don't guide or advise, right? Because it gives you buying power. And God forbid if something happens to the income and you have to go into a foreclosure, both of you don't go down at the same time. If one has to go down, just take it from the negative side, right? Then the other has their credit where they can go and make a purchase. And or if you wanted to do a second home or an investment home, then your income is free. Whereas when you are on, and even be cautious with the deeds, because some mortgage companies, and Dr. Cass is the finance person here, so she can back this up or put me in the right course. If you're on a deed, sometimes finance companies will hold you still liable for those mortgages because you're on that deed, and they say, well, that's income because if something happens to the other person. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that you didn't get to go on the loan. All things work together for good. I just believe that. But I do know some people who could possibly help you get your credit situated. So if you guys wanted to do something different and nothing else, just to have your credit cleared, they very well could possibly help you.
That would be awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever shared this story. Did I ever tell you about that, Dr. Cass? I don't think I.
No.
Yeah, because it's embarrassing.
But that's the good thing about these conversations, right? As Shirley Ann said, if we can be vulnerable and share some of the challenges we've faced or mistakes we've made, because mistakes are not failure, but if we can share the mistakes we made, then there are enough people around to rise up and help us. And so therein lies, once again, the power of a community like this. So I'm so grateful that you were comfortable enough to share, Elisa. And Shirley-Ann, I just dearly love you for always rising up and being there to help folks out. That is what you do. You serve from the heart. And that is the very essence of you as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if we can help you, we'll help you get what it is that you need to get done. And it does not matter your state.
And I will add to that, I have always been the primary breadwinner in my family. So I've always bought the homes in my name. I have not kept my husband on the loan. And then I have a life insurance. If anything happens to me, my husband will have enough money to live, plus the mortgage to be paid so that it doesn't become a burden to him. Now that he has cancer, he's entering Alzheimer's, all of these health challenges, I am at peace, because even if anything happens to me, he will always have a home. He will always have somebody to take care of him, and the home will be paid for, right? So there are reasons why we need to do this, but ultimately giving each other the security so that the home can function as a home. If one person is not secure, if one person is afraid, one person feels intimidated, not in the marriage, but outside circumstances, that will affect the marriage. It will affect the home.
Yeah. And it's about stress. And then I just want to salute you, literally, Alyssa, because someone else that'll hear this may be in your situation, and what you shared could prevent someone from going into that situation, not just with co-signing for a house, but co-signing for a car, co-signing for anything. And it could be a family member. People's minds do change. So we have to, that's taking care of your home. We have to protect ourselves and be wise in what we do. So good for you.
So that's so true. Yes, that's always my advice, because I've always wanted to be a helper, but when you help, you have to make sure that you're not damaging yourself in the process in a way that is going to take years to repair. So,
and or enabling the other person to not be functional. So those are some good tips and tools that you can share with your daughters.
yes.
Yeah. In my language, we have a saying, Elisa, anytime you help somebody, think of it as giving away your oldest daughter in marriage. If you won't send her into that situation, then don't enter into that situation.
That's true.
I love it. And the other thing that popped in my mind, just because you said that, Dr. Cass, and this has happened to people, it shouldn't, but it does. Parents, do not use your children's credit. Do not use their social security numbers and things, because you're damaging them later in life, especially if the bills are not being paid. Now, on the positive side, if you as a parent have good credit and you're paying your bills, and your child is 14 or 15 or older, depending on the credit card company, and you're doing the right thing by credit, you could actually put your child's name on the credit. Do not give them the card, and you can build their credit. A lot of people do that as well as a way of building other people's credit. So if you had the credit, Alyssa, the way to have done that might have been not co-sign, but allowed them to, what's the term, Dr. Cass? Trade lines. Allow her to have been on a credit card or something to boost her credit, and it would have protected you by not giving her the credit card as well.
That's true. Yeah, no, they did. Something struck. I can't remember which one of you said it, but it was that I actually enabled her to be in a situation that, because the thing was, she needed the income. The bank didn't believe that she had the income, which was surprising with the way the market was at that time, but she needed my income to supplement. So, I mean, which was dishonest, because, and then I was enabling her to be where she couldn't really afford to be. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
All good. We forgive
building the credit for the kids. That's a great idea too.
Yes, yes. And remember, protect your children's credit too. I am from Chicago, right? My adopted home is Chicago in the United States. Chicago is the identity theft capital of the United States. And the single most prominent way identity theft happens is families stealing good credit family members' identities. And it's normally parents stealing their children's identity. So as soon as a baby is born, they take over the identity. And by the time the child is 18, the child is bankrupt. And that's the worst thing you can do to your child. So be mindful. You're responsible. You're the parent. Help build them. Don't tear them down. And it doesn't matter who. Don't keep your identity information anywhere outside because you don't know who will steal it.
It's true. Put fraud alerts.
Yeah, fraud alert. So as I bring this conversation, as wonderful as this has been, we are coming to the end of an hour. So Shirley-Ann, how can people find you and get in touch with you? Because you have such insight, such compassion for helping people. And I know people are going to want to reach out to you.
So my number, 803-567-0981. If you can't reach me, at least text and leave a voicemail or something so that way I will know. Otherwise, I have a website. It is www.trustdestinyrealty.com. TRUSTDESTINYREALTY.com. I'm on Facebook, on Instagram. If you just type in this, my daughter's name that she let me use as a business name. So I got to put that out there. I love my daughter. Trust Destiny. You'll find me on Instagram, or Shirley-Ann Montgomery on Facebook. And you can always reach me through Dr. Cass. She knows how to find me.
Yes.
And my
And I tagged you on all the promos so people can click on that. If you go to a LinkedIn page or you go to a website, you can go to all her social media sites.
Yeah. And my website, if you are looking for a website, you need to connect with Dr. Cass. My website is thebomb.com, literally. And that's because I use my coach.
Oh, so honored to have had this conversation with you, Shirley-Ann. We are just coming out of Thanksgiving, going into Christmas. This is the time we have to be grateful. We honor the people that we value. We make our home stronger. We make our love that much more universal, right?
Yeah.
So in the spirit of Christmas, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Before you go, one thing I do want to say, in case there is a listener out there that's contemplating home ownership, December is your gift for tax purposes. If you purchase a home, and again, Dr. Cass is a finance person. If you purchase a home, I would like to help you, but it doesn't matter. Find a realtor that cares about you and your family. But if you purchase that home this year, December, before January 1, 2023, that becomes a tax write-off for you.
Wonderful, wonderful tip as we bring this to a close. And Shirley-Ann, thank you so much for honoring all of us with your insight, with your wisdom, and with your compassion in helping us think this through. And to our audience, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for staying engaged. Thank you for contributing and being a part of the conversation so that the others who listen can truly benefit from this. And as we always say in Goldilocks, every human interaction is our opportunity for transformation. So keep engaging, keep communicating, keep connecting. And as you go through life, as you learn and grow with others, remember, you're transforming lives. And in that process, you're also transforming your own.